Okay, welcome back once again. Square State Sandlot here with Bill and myself, Kyle. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get together for a little bit. Schedules kind of didn't line up, but happily, both of us were able to hop on today. Unfortunately, John wasn't able to join us. But we have a little bit to dive into, mostly, I would say, NFL, a little bit of baseball. And from there, we'll go ahead and dive into our pick'ems. We decided to start pick'ems between the three of us, and we'll to be decided on how that works as far as winner and loser. But if you want to go ahead and run through last week's bill, and we'll go over our picks this week.
Yeah, so week one, Kyle got off to a hot start. He went 12-4. John went 10-6, and I went 8-8. So we'll keep posting those on the social so you guys can stay updated on where we are in the standings each week. And then we're still looking for suggestions on what to do for winners and for the winner and the loser. The one in the middle can just enjoy what happens
Yeah.
to the winner and loser. I know on the last episode, John suggested shaving the beard for you as a punishment. I told him that's probably not
Yeah.
on the table, but
So
we'll
so
see.
I did listen in. I did listen into that episode after the fact, and I can go ahead and say that is not an option.
I figured, but he wanted to throw some ideas out there, so. Um, but yeah, we'll go right into the picks. I'll read John's for him since he's obviously not joining us today. But I went with Washington, New England, Denver, Buffalo, San Francisco, the Rams, Pittsburgh, begrudgingly, Chicago, Cleveland, and New Orleans, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Dallas, Kansas City, and Green Bay. Um, Obviously, a lot of those have hit so far today, but there's still the whole late slate going on, and then the Monday night game as well. So good start, but we'll see how it ends up. And then for John, he went Washington, New Orleans, Cincinnati, Cleveland, the Los Angeles Rams, Denver, Buffalo, New England, Philly, and Raiders. And then in the late slate, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Seattle, Kansas City, Green Bay. So John and I are exact on the late slate, and I think you are too. So it doesn't really matter what happens with those. It looks
Yeah,
like
I
we're
don't
going to
think
pick
it's
up
going
some
to change a
games.
whole lot.
But go ahead and read yours, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I obviously took the Steelers winning today. Giants, Broncos, Patriots, Bills, Eagles, Rams, Bengals, Browns, Saints, then Bucks, Cardinals, Cowboys, Chiefs, Packers, and Seattle. So similar picks on some of those with you guys, but I think I'm down 5 games already this week. So, obviously a change from last week. I was hoping to stay ahead of you guys, but I think you'll make up some ground this week. Um, yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it's it's tough being at the back, so I'm glad I'm going to make up some ground at least. Hopefully, at least end even with John or catching up to you. So we'll see what happens with that. Um,
I can still stay ahead of John, but I don't know. I think he might have tied me if
yeah.
I were looking at it right.
So one thing we didn't get
Oh
to
well.
talk about that I really was looking forward to talking about was the Raiders' Monday night victory over the Ravens. Um, I'm sure most, if not all, of our listeners probably were watching that game because it was the most watched Monday night football game for opening week in the last 5, 6 years, I think they said. So it was a very popular game, and it did not disappoint. There was a lot of intrigue,
No, it was good.
a lot of back and forth for leads and stuff. Went into overtime, and I think the Raiders won it 3 different times, and the last one finally counted. So it was a all-out blitz. Carr just threw off his back foot with max protection. Zay Jones had a rub route that Hunter Renfro baited his guy into running into Marlon Humphrey, who was guarding Zay Jones, and Zay Jones just caught the ball out of the air, the moonshot, and ran into the end zone for the walk-off. So it was a marvelous game, lots of pressure, all the things that we were missing last year on the defensive side of the football showed up for that game. So it was really inspiring and made me think that we might actually do something this year. I know I picked the Steelers to win the game today, but that was mostly due to, we kind of talked about this off air, but uh, the Raiders don't usually play well in East Coast games when they're in the early slot. Plus, it was a short week and the Steelers had the extra day to prepare for the Raiders. But I think it really came down to
Right.
a lot of injuries for the Steelers and the Raiders kind of playing to those injuries. Um, so you want to just jump right into that game and then we can talk about whatever else, or I think you're cutting out again. So I'll just jump right into that game and then hopefully he comes back here in a second. But so the Raiders, they were without Josh Jacobs, they were without Richie Incognito. So I think the plan going into the Steelers and Raiders game for them was going to be pass heavy to begin with. Josh Jacobs is our cowbell running back, where he's going to take majority of the runs and do a lot with them. But with him out, I think that instantly shifted their focus to Kenyon Drake. He's a pass catching back, and then we picked up Peyton Barber off of the practice squad, and he's more of a typical running back where he's gonna pound for 5-10 yards, whatever he can get. So I think it really hurt the Steelers. They were missing Joe Hayden, and who was the other cornerback that was out? I think your audio's still out. I think it was Banner that was out from their secondary, and they were also missing Stephon Tuitt and Bush, and then throughout the game, T.J. Watt and Tyson Alualu got hurt. So they really started playing to that, where even though the Raiders' offensive line was banged up, they were still able to get enough separation and blocking where they could make plays at the line, give Derek Carr enough time, and then he was making all the throws that he needed to. So let me take a quick break so we can see what's going on with Kyle, and we'll get him back on 1 second. All right,
All
we're
right, I'm
back.
back.
Sorry about that. Internet problems. 21st century. Here we go. So Kyle, I left off talking about some injuries on your side. You're more knowledgeable on that, so let's have you talk about the Steelers' injuries that they were dealing with throughout that game and
So,
obviously going into it.
right, I guess going into yesterday, Stephon Tuitt was still out with an injury, and then Zach Banner, who's actually on our offensive line, he's unfortunately still out as well. And then the big news yesterday was Joe Hayden and Devin Bush, which is our top corner and our top middle linebacker, both out for the game. Um, it's not what you want to hear going into the game. Everybody deals with this. Injuries are part of it. But then during the game, we ended up losing Tyson Alualu, who early, I guess I'll have to read up on it later, but supposedly broke his ankle.
Ouch.
So he's probably going to be out for a while, which is unfortunate because Tuitt is out, and that's
That's a
our other
tough
big man
dude,
in the middle.
because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he walked off under his own power.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, he's a tough guy. He's a good player. I really like watching him play. And then the other big one, obviously, was T.J. Watt. He went out with a groin injury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty frustrating. It crippled our defense. It exposed our defense. I'm not going to say it's why we lost. That's part of the NFL. Everybody deals with injuries. You had some on your side. Um, it's disappointing, though, after starting off with the Bills game last week. I was really hoping we could build off of that. Bit of a letdown today, but
Yeah. Well, and
um,
like I said
it
before we
happened.
lost it, um, I think it really just played into the Raiders' game plan on what they were planning to do, knowing they were going to be missing Josh Jacobs, and then obviously it just kind of snowballed because Alu was getting a lot of pressure on the inside, and then T.J. Watt going against Leatherwood on the outside. He schooled him a couple times, and on that play that he ended up getting hurt on, Leatherwood beat him pretty good, forced him inside, and then he started to chase down Carr on the
Yeah.
scramble, and you saw him pull up right as Carr let go of the football. Watt grabbed for his groin and didn't play after that.
Yep.
So
Well,
hopefully they caught
it's
it.
one of those. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that you hate to be the what ifs, but Watt was getting a lot of pressure early. Had his sack, another strip sack, which was wonderful.
Yep.
Hopefully, it's just a little bit of discomfort, and he's back next week because
That's what I'm saying.
for two reasons.
I hope they caught it
It's a
early
division
enough.
game. Yeah, yeah, and it's a division game with the Bengals, and I'll actually be there in Pittsburgh for it. So, I would like a win, obviously.
Yes. I don't think you'll
We'll
have a
see.
problem getting that win, but we'll see what happens. Obviously,
I'll be
injuries.
honest. I had that opinion today, though. Also, I really thought we were going to match up well, and
Well,
I mean, obviously, it didn't happen. So
going into that game, I thought it was going to be low scoring and it was going to be like a field goal. Uh, and I think it very well could have been 2 point game if you guys would have scored a touchdown. And I think going forward on that 4th down and 1 after
yeah,
the Henry Ruggs 60-yard bomb, I think you and I both said I don't know why they aren't going for it right here. You don't give an offense that just shredded you on defense. You don't give them another opportunity to do that right after they just did it on a 3-and-out, and that's what they did.
absolutely. I don't understand.
So I
I
feel like that was the point that where it was over. Obviously, you guys scored again, but or no, you didn't score after that. Field goal.
No, we didn't.
Scored a field goal. That was it, but wasn't enough. So yeah, very curious game. I obviously I'm thrilled with how it turned out. It definitely turned out the way I would have predicted it had I known Hayden wasn't going to play and Bush was going to be out. I would have guessed that the Raiders would have won, but obviously that was announced yesterday, and we did our picks
Yeah.
clear back on Wednesday. So
Well, they were questionable yesterday, and then this morning, obviously, it was updated to out.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was a rough day for our defense. Excuse me. I mean, I take my hat off to him, especially Carr. He was very poised all day. Honestly, I think the only player on our team defensively that played lights out was Minka.
Yeah.
That poor man was. I mean, he was breaking off his coverages, trying to. I mean, he was about the only one that I saw really, really playing very, very well, regardless of the outcome. But
Spillane actually played pretty well in spot duty
he
for
did.
Bush. I was kind of impressed with
He
what
got
he
he
was
got
able to
beat
do.
a few times. He was very aggressive. I liked that he was going after the ball all day, but
Yeah.
he did get beat a few times. But
Well, and you
yeah,
guys put Minka basically in a bracket over Waller, and he kind of just followed him around and helped whoever was covering him underneath. So uh, they, you definitely limited Waller, didn't eliminate him. I think he only had 6 catches and
yeah,
70 yards or something like that. So pretty good game. I think the only time they really beat him was when they lined him up with a linebacker, and Minka wasn't able to get there in time to help. So
yeah.
pretty good game plan there. But yeah, Waller or Carr definitely spread it out. I think he had 380 yards or something like that. So
Yeah, I think it was 8 receivers again too. That's back-to-back weeks for him with eight people catching the ball. So,
and
like I said, hats off to him. He's playing well.
my favorite part of that was we finally got Ruggs involved. Last week I think he only had 3 catches for 40 yards or something like that, and this week he had 1 catch that went for 60 and a touch, and then a couple others that went for good gains as well. So uh, seeing him getting incorporated in the offense where they're not just relying on Waller to make plays, and then obviously you saw Renfro, he made a couple plays, especially on 3rd down. You saw our backup tight end, Foster Moreau made a couple plays too. So it's good to see how the offense is doing. And like I said, defense. The defense last year couldn't even touch this defense. So if that keeps trending up and the offense keeps playing at a high level, even though we don't have a great line, I think this team could do some pretty special things. So.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, you guys are 2-0, and you've played two decent teams. So I mean, it's not just an easy schedule or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot to hang your hat on there with being 2-0, playing two tough defenses. Sure, we were beat up, but I mean,
Decent.
you guys have played some good football.
It killed you to call the Ravens a decent team.
No, I mean, we have one of the toughest divisions. I mean, it's
For sure.
you got a lot of good teams there. So
Yeah, like the Bengals are the
if you
worst
can't,
team in your division, and they're probably
right?
going to have a decent shot at 500 record. So.
I mean, you got to respect talent when it's there. I mean, I don't like them, but they have some good teams.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can't wait for that Kansas City and Baltimore matchup tonight. I think
I
Kansas
hope it's
City's.
not a letdown.
Well, I think it's going to be because Kansas City has historically owned these matchups, but I'm hoping Lamar can at least keep the Ravens offense in it. They will be. I know Hollywood Brown's banged up, and then obviously they're on their third string running back, so uh, it's gonna be one of those games where the Ravens have to take control first, get the lead, and then
They're
they
going
can
to
play
have
their
to.
style of football instead of trying to catch up to the Chiefs because it'll never happen. So if they win the
Yeah.
coin flip, they better take it and they better score, or it could get out of control quick. So um, I think that's probably a pretty good stopping point for a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some baseball. Um, it's really coming down to the end here, where we're getting into the September matchups that are going to determine who goes to the playoffs. So exciting stuff. We'll talk about it when we get right back.
Sounds good.
All right, and we're back. So as I alluded to before we went on break, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball. Wild card is coming down to the wire. We got roughly, I think, 12 games left, something like that, somewhere in that ballpark for the A's. They're 2.5 games out of the second wild card right now. Yankees haven't lost yet, but they're losing today, and it looks like they're probably going to lose. So the A's will pick up a game if they can hang on to beat Ohtani and the Angels. They're up 2-0 right now. Ohtani gave up 2 home runs to Yan Gomes and then Matt Chapman, both solo shots, and nothing has really happened since. He struck out a bunch of A's, but the A's have Frankie Montas pitching on their side, and he's only given up 1 hit so far, and he's only at like 70 pitches through 6. So if he can hang on and pitch into the, hopefully at least pitch the 8th, and then we can bring on someone in the 9th and close that out. Bullpen has been pretty hit and miss, especially in September. I think they had the worst ERA in the majors, but the last week or so they've been a lot more stable. So obviously some of that has to do with who we're playing in the Angels. They aren't a great team. They're below 500 for a reason. But we didn't do that well against the Rangers. We lost 2 or 3 against them. So that's pretty disheartening when they're the third worst team in the majors right now, according to their record. And the A's only went 10-9 against them for the season series. So that's not ideal. Would have liked to see about 6 more wins in that series, and I think you know where we would be in the standings if that would have happened. So
Yeah.
the A's finish up with I think 7 games against Seattle and 3 against the Astros. So those are all division teams. Seattle's a game and a half behind us in the wild card standings, and Houston's I think 5 games ahead of us in the division. So we could definitely make up some ground here if we win a lot of games. 6.5, so probably out of reach for the division, but at least if we can get in on a wild card, that would be fantastic. So the Yankees are skidding pretty hard right now. They were ahead of the A's in the wild card, but they're 5-5 in their last 10, and probably about to be 5-6 in their last 11. On the National League side, you've got some pretty crazy races going on.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is trailing the Braves by a game now, I think. Yeah,
Yep.
just one game. And the Braves had like a 6-game lead just a week ago. So they've been playing some pretty bad baseball. But
Well, you look at their streaks. I mean, Atlanta's on a 4-game losing streak, and Philly's on a 4-game winning streak. So I mean, that'll do it.
yep, that's how you turn them around. And that's what I'm hoping for with the A's going into that Houston series. If they could sweep them, at least make it interesting. That would be very ideal. But Tampa Bay, basically the whole AL East is playing very well, except for Baltimore. Obviously, they're right now in the driver's seat for the number one overall pick, although it's close with Arizona. Tampa Bay's 92-58, 6.5 game lead over Boston. Boston's been hit with all the COVID issues. I think they had like 8 guys out at one point for COVID reserve list. Toronto's been hitting the shit out of the ball, winning a lot of games. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and then like I said, the Yankees are kind of scuffling, but they're still in the wild card race. In fact, I think they're in that second spot if I remember right. So, and then like I said, on the National League side, you got Atlanta and Philadelphia coming down to probably whoever wins that division's going to be in, and whoever doesn't is going to be out. So that's kind of do or die. Milwaukee already locked up a wild card and the division. They're 12 games up, so that's pretty impressive work by them. Obviously a weaker division, but you win the games in front of you, that's what happens. And then San Francisco and the Dodgers are coming down to the wire. San Francisco's just trying to hold off that best record. Dodgers are
Right.
trying to take over. And then one team that really slipped out of the race at the end was the Padres. I think
Big time.
they're still technically in the race, but the way they're playing right now, it doesn't look very promising. So, um,
Yeah. They
I
were
don't.
talked about, making the push, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, they're 2-8 in their last 10. So, um, that was a surprising team to me. That I think at the beginning of the season, when you saw how they were playing against the Dodgers before the trade deadline, when they made all those moves, and the Padres stayed pat, I think that kind of defined where that was going to go for the rest of the season. But
Well, and I think what killed San Diego too is, I mean, they had some big games, against some of the other big teams, but they also played teams like my Pirates, and they lost way more of those games than they should have.
yeah,
Um, we really we won a lot of those games that I never expected to.
yeah.
So
Well, and then
you can't.
I think the Dodgers swept them in a 4-game series too, semi
Yeah,
recently.
that
So
helps.
that'll just bury you losing 4 games in a row to a division rival. So the Dodgers look like they are probably, even though the Giants are a game and a half ahead of them in the division, it looks like the Dodgers are going to be a force to be reckoned with again. All the additions they made, their run
Well,
differential
yeah,
is,
sure, they're yeah.
yeah. Well, and their run differential for the season is 249 through today. Positive 249. No one else is even close to that. So they're going to be a good team to watch during the playoffs. Obviously, when you can spend 300 million on payroll,
That helps.
you should win a couple games. But so obviously your Buccos have been eliminated from the playoffs, but let's have a season recap because we probably won't talk about them again for a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
mean, obviously, we're nearing the end of their season. We obviously are not in playoff contention, not even close. Um, I will say that I guess most recently we were in a series with the Marlins. I thought we were finally going to get our first sweep of the season. Top of the ninth, we ended up going going up 5-4, and unfortunately, they came back and we went to the 10th inning, and they had a walk-off 2-run homer, I believe, to finish it up. So
Would have been nice to
we were
have
so
Rich Rod
close.
there.
Oh, weird. And I mean, that's kind of our season in a nutshell. We had some decent, some nice players. We traded most of them off for, pieces for the future. I'm still really optimistic. A lot of the young guys came in, played well. We've still been in a lot of tight games. I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, are we going to be playoff bound next year? Probably not. But I think we have a shot at getting closer to that 500 mark. Um, we'll just have to see, obviously how that works. We'll have a much different team than we did this year. Even the players we didn't trade, like the Gregory Polancos, who I love Polanco, I always will, but that time has passed. We moved on from him. Um, I wish him the best, but it just wasn't working out. We weren't getting what we needed from him. So I think we're starting to see where this rebuild's going to go. So, um, no Bucktober this year, but I think there's a lot of positivity to take out of this season.
Yeah. Well, and your division is probably up for grabs next season. Obviously,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
Brewers are they're a very tough team, but they're also one of those teams that typically doesn't spend a lot. So when they start to get those players that are out of control for in the next couple seasons, they tend to trade them away rather than extending them. So I think that could be a quick turnaround. Obviously, you would love to have those four guys that you guys traded for the future. But if you weren't going to extend them, it obviously makes sense to get some players and see what happens with player development. So next year will be a big push to see who's in the long-term plans, and then I think the following season will be the time to put the pedal to the metal and see what you actually have. So
Absolutely.
um, the A's, Frankie Montas had Stassi down 0-2 and ended up walking him. So hopefully he can get this next guy out. He's got him down 0-2, but like I said, if they win this game, it'll put them a game and a half, or maybe is it 2 games? I can't remember. I just said it and I already forgot. But
I think game and a half.
yeah, 2 games, game and a half, something like that, outside of that second wild card. So he got him. Good. Okay. So with that being said, anything else that you wanted to bring up now that I'm focused again?
I mean, I think that's all I have for baseball. Just the last thing we definitely got to touch on is our Cowboys
Oh,
are
the
now 3-0.
the goddamn Wyoming Cowboys.
Yeah, buddy.
3-0.
Yeah, I mean it's a good start. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous the first two games. They weren't as solid as I probably would have liked. But at the end of the day, they won them. They found ways to win. I mean, we even were up big, gave it away late, and were able to come back. Obviously, in the last game, but then the one yesterday, a little more decisive, and it should have been. But it was good seeing them excelling. Really,
Yeah.
they had control of that game the entire time. So we'd like to see more of that.
Well, in that first game, you told me not to even watch it, so I thought they were getting their butts kicked. But I was driving
Well, the
back
first
from,
half was terrible.
I can't remember where I was driving back from, but oh, my parents' house, I think. Yeah, so we were driving back. I didn't get to watch it live, but I had it recorded, and you said don't watch. So I was like, great, they lost their home opener against Montana State with their
Well,
old
and that's why I
offensive
was
coordinator that's complete ass. You got me
right.
all fired
That's
up
why I
driving
was.
home.
That's why I was so frustrated because I was just like, dude, we should be sticking it to these guys. And that first, especially the first couple drives, and
Oh
really the
yeah.
first half, it was not what I wanted to see us doing out the gate. So it was nice we turned it around. And like I said, I mean, we're 3-0. There's no other way of putting it. It's good to be 3-0, and I think they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable, especially with the offense.
Well, and
Um,
that's the thing I wanted to bring up. Obviously, against Northern Illinois, they won 50 to 43 or something like that. They let them back in that game when they really should have won by probably double digits. But at the
Oh,
end of the day,
absolutely.
all you can count or all you can care about is the win. Um, but the thing that
Yeah, when it
is,
comes down to a bowl bid, that's what's going to matter.
yeah, and at the end of the day, their offensive coordinator is not afraid to throw the ball. And Sean Chambers is looking a lot more comfortable and accurate throwing the ball off those RPOs and play action.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not just tucking it and run every time. So if they have that extra dimension where with Vegan they were run 3 times in a row, punt, or run 2 times in a row, don't get any yards, so now we'll throw it on 3rd and long. And it was just
Yep.
that all game. And you're just hoping that one of those runs break free. And they usually did, to be fair, but you don't just keep hitting your head against the door and hoping that it changes
Yeah.
eventually, because most of the time it didn't. But like I said, love to see that. And then this game against Ball State, they just pedal to the metal right from the get-go. They had pick six in the first half, and then Chad Muma got another one towards the end of the game, pick six and that's his second week in a row with a pick six. So he's he's very much in the vein of Logan Wilson, where he's going
Agreed.
to be an NFL caliber player and probably get drafted. Maybe not as high as Logan did, but I think he's every bit as good and will have an impact in the NFL. So very good to
Even if for
see.
some reason, even if for some reason he doesn't get drafted, he will be. I would definitely see him still making it there as an undrafted rookie.
Yeah, I think he
Somebody
will
will
get
take a
drafted.
flyer on
He's
him.
on too many All-American watch lists and things to not get drafted, even if it's a
That's
later
true. He
round.
does
But
have a name for himself.
and I think that's one thing that's very encouraging about the bowl overseeing of this team is how many players are ending up in the NFL, and that's just a
And for
testament
us,
to,
that's a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because obviously that helps with recruiting, but it also shows you like, hey, we're able to get these quality of players, so we should be able to coach them up to winning these games. Because if you have that many players in the Mountain West that are NFL capable, you should be winning some games. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think getting rid of Vegan, obviously he got promoted to head coach somehow by some team, but getting rid of him, I think, is going to let this offense take off and really see what they can do. So
I hope they can keep it up.
it's looking good. And like I said, they play UConn next week, and I think UConn's coming off a. I want to just look this up, but I think they lost like 50-10 or something stupid like that. So UConn football. Let me just look this up. I saw it and I was like, oh man, they should beat them based on the
Yes.
score.
Hopefully.
They lost
4-0
to
looks better than 3-0.
They lost to Army 52-21, and the only reason I think it was 52-10 at one, or it must have been 7 at one point or something like that. So Army let them back in the game, but mostly just playing prevent defense. So that a lot of that scoring was in garbage time. So and to read their scores so far this season, they lost to Fresno 45-0. They lost to I don't even know who that is. HC. I don't know. I don't know who HC is, but they lost to them 38-28. Purdue 49-0, and then now Army 52-21. So they
Yeah,
should
rough
have a
start.
pretty good shot against the Yukon Huskies. They're 0-4. So we'll see what happens with that. I think we're probably good to end it there. So as always, please share, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We do have a link tree now, so I usually post that with each of the episodes that we post. It takes you right to all of our socials, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and then it also takes you to Anchor or Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen as well, YouTube. So check that link tree out, and it'll take you to all our links, so you've got it all in one spot. And as always, like I said, like, subscribe, share, comment, give us some feedback. We love to hear it. So Kyle, you got any parting words?
Happy to be back. Definitely was a bit of a hiatus, at least for myself. Schedule wise. Hopefully, won't be as long this next time. Definitely, hopefully Wednesday we can get another one in.
Yeah.
Just thank you for anybody listening, and as always, we would love to get a little more interaction with the fans. So um, send in some questions, comments, whatever,
Go
and looking
Pokes.
forward to the next.
Go Raiders.
Yeah, buddy. Go Pokes. Now stop it. On that note, I'm out of here.
We'll say Steelers. I don't know if I'll go so far as the Packers, but I picked them, so I'll say it this week.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Thanks for stopping by. We hope you guys enjoyed.